Twisted Metal is out now on Peacock, and it's filled with Easter eggs and references from every game in the franchise. In this video, I'm going to break down all the Easter eggs I could find from every episode this season. So warning, there are inherently going to be spoilers in this video. If you do not want to get spoiled, come back to this video after you finish watching Twisted Metal Season 1. I won't get into any story specifics, but since I'm going over all the Easter eggs, there are going to be some spoilers, so once again, spoiler warning, this is your final chance. Everyone good? Okay, let's go. Let's start breaking down all the Easter eggs. Episode 1, Will You Drive? When John Doe is driving around the mall to find a pair of sneakers, a missile explodes near him, which results in a meta moment where the original PlayStation 1 case of Twisted Metal lands on his windshield for a brief second. Speaking of John Doe, he is originally from Twisted Metal Black. In both the game and the show, John has amnesia. He doesn't remember anything about his past. In the show, he only has one remaining memento, a ripped up family photo. We also get our first glimpse of Quiet, played by Stephanie Beatrice, a new character made specifically for the show. She ends up tagging along with Anthony Mackie's John Doe for the remainder of the season. But if it's classic Twisted Metal characters you're looking for, we get introduced to Raven, played by Neve Campbell. Raven is a character from Twisted Metal Black, though her interpretation in the show is different from the games. In the show, Raven is the leader of New San Francisco, one of the last remaining civilized cities in America. She even has a bar named Kelly's, which is a reference to her best friend in Twisted Metal Black. We also get a first look at Agent Stone, who is played by Thomas Hayden Church, and serves as our main antagonist in the series. Agent Stone appears in the original Twisted Metal and also Twisted Metal Black. He starts chasing Quiet and Loud, the sibling duo, who happen to be driving a classic Twisted Metal vehicle, Shadow. In the games, Shadow has two drivers, Mortimer from Twisted Metal 2 and Head On, and in Twisted Metal Black, it's actually driven by Raven. Episode 2, Three Ring Circus. During a chase and battle with Sweet Tooth, played by both Samoa Joe and Will Arnett, John Doe recites a cheat code, referencing the games, which also has various cheat codes as well. I don't know the exact one he says from the games, but I think it might be God Mode from Twisted Metal 2. Let me know in the comments if I got that one right. We also finally get a look at Mike and Stu, the classic driver duo of Hammerhead and Twisted Metal 2, played by Taj Vaughns and Mike Mitchell, respectively. They actually appear as recurring characters throughout the rest of the season. As we get to see more of Sweet Tooth, a reference that I thought we would never see pops up. This version of Sweet Tooth also has his own Herald. Who is Herald? Well, it's the original prize for the first iteration of Sweet Tooth back in the first Twisted Metal game. In both the show and the game, Sweet Tooth refers to Harold as his best friend. Oh, and Harold is just a paper bag. Yep, that Sweet Tooth is something else, man. Sweet Tooth also suits up for his performance, and his costume is straight out of Twisted Metal 3, looking pretty dapper in that suit, which also made an appearance in PlayStation All-Stars. Fun fact. Episode 3, Not the Law. We only have 2 Easter eggs here in this episode. In a flashback scene, we see 2 kids playing with RC cars right as the apocalypse begins. This is actually a neat reference to Twisted Metal Small Brawl, a spin-off to Twisted Metal which reimagines the franchise for a younger audience. It's actually a great game, and definitely not 56 worthy. Thanks, Metacritic. In another flashback scene, we see Agent Stone gun down a bunch of innocent survivors. In his blood rage, he doesn't realize that a child was killed in the crossfire. He picks up a blood-soaked teddy bear, and this teddy bear is taken straight from Agent Stone's story mode in Twisted Metal Black. Episode 4, Who's There? In this episode, we get introduced to even more Twisted Metal characters. We get our first look at Miranda Watts. Miranda Watts first appeared in Twisted Metal Head On, the PSP classic. Miranda Watts is the twin sister of Amanda Watts, the original driver of Twister. Later on in the episode, we get to see Twister as well, which was a pleasant surprise. We also get probably the most random addition in the show, Granny Dread, who is originally from Twisted Metal 3. In this show, she is played by Peg O'Keefe, and is the leader of the Convoy, a hideout that is made up of 4 semi-trucks that is constantly on the move. John and Quiet eventually meet up with another classic Twisted Metal 3 character. This time it's Amber Rose, the driver of Flower Power. Like in the game, she's also a lover of plants, only in this version she is much more deadly. Alright, this one might be a stretch, but I'm gonna say it anyway. John and Quiet end up in the movie theater, and this has to be a reference to that Twisted Metal Small Brawl level, Now Slaying, which also takes place in a movie theater. Episode 5, Crossroads. Here we get our first look at Carl and Jamie Roberts, the sibling duo. Carl first appeared in the first Twisted Metal game, and is the original driver of Outlaw. He is actually the canon winner of the first Twisted Metal tournament. Jamie is a second driver of Outlaw and appears in Twisted Metal 2, joining the competition to free her brother who is stuck in outer space. Yeah, long story, I know. This one also might be a stretch, but I'm rolling with it anyway. Sweet Tooth ends up freeing a bunch of prisoners at one point, and they all become loyal to him to form a cult around him. This is like in Twisted Metal 2012 on PlayStation 3, where all the main characters, Sweet Tooth, Mr. Grimm, and Dollface, had their own gangs worshipping them. And speaking of Twisted Metal on PlayStation 3, we also see a sign that says Thrills and Spills Park, a reference to the amusement park level of the same game. Episode 6, Drive-Thru. During the episode, an event called a Watkins Storm occurs, where lightning is constantly striking in the area. This is due to a nuclear power plant exploding during the apocalypse, poisoning the sky. The name Watkins is actually a reference to the Twisted Metal map Watkins Harbor, which appeared in the self-titled Twisted Metal on PlayStation 3. Also, the lightning strikes is a reference to the classic environmental attack in the Twisted Metal franchise. In some of the maps, you can pick up this weapon and it will shoot lightning at enemies depending on their location. Episode 7, Nut House. This episode opens up with a horrifying flashback to a young Sweet Tooth, aka Marcus Kane. In this show, he was actually a child star of a sitcom, and a brief conversation with his stepdad confirms that his true father, Charlie Kane, is still out there. And he was also a taxi driver, just like Charlie Kane in the games. Marcus even has a similar outfit to Charlie Kane's son in Twisted Metal Black. John and Quiet arrive at New Chicago to pick up their package, and here's the introduction to Calypso. Yes, Calypso is in the show, but we don't get to see his face. In the games, Calypso serves as the host of the Twisted Metal Tournament, a vehicular combat contest where the victor is granted the grand prize of one wish of their choosing. No matter how outlandish the request is, Calypso will fulfill it in his own twisted way. Sweet Tooth also ends up back in his old home, Blackfield Asylum. Blackfield Asylum is the primary location in Twisted Metal Black, a place where all the contestants in that game were placed for their crimes against humanity. And in this episode, we get introduced to even more Twisted Metal characters, so let's list them off. We get to see Bloody Mary, who in the show is an old acquaintance of John Doe. Bloody Mary is from Twisted Metal Black, and she's the driver of Spectre in that game. We also get introduced to Petunia, who's the driver of Drag Queen, and my man, the myth, the legend, Connor, the driver of Pizza Boy.
Yo, what up, ST? Check it, drop a player in a bucket, heck, trip down hoop ride, all chromey, homie, with my name on my props. Oh yeah, it's gonna be quick. So quick I bounce without my shadow and all that.
And we also get Mr. Slam, a classic Twisted Metal character, but in the show, he's called Mr. Slam for a different reason. You're gonna find out why when you watch the show. Oh, and also Pit Viper appears, a character from the original Twisted Metal game who drives a dune buggy. The original Twisted Metal was the only time Pit Viper ever appeared in the franchise, so it's nice to see Angela finally return in some way. Episode 8, Evelyn. Here we see a sign for the Zorko Bros Scrapyard. This of course is a reference to the classic level from Twisted Metal Black, Junkyard, Zorko Bros Scrap and Salvage. And in this episode, we get introduced to Preacher and his gang of holy men. Preacher is a character that first appeared in Twisted Metal Black, but is also in Twisted Metal 2012 on PlayStation 3. His gang of holy men might be a reference to the 2012 game as well, where he also had a gang of holy men, just like how all the other main characters had their own gangs in Twisted Metal 2012. Episode 9, Roadkill. We get one of the most exciting moments in the entire show, where Sweet Tooth finally puts gasoline on his head. Every Twisted Metal fan knows what this leads up to, and yes, Sweet Tooth finally lights his head on fire to finally complete the iconic Sweet Tooth look we all know and love. John Doe and Quiet end up building a new car, and this one is going to be familiar to fans of the franchise. Roadkill has been made, which is the main car for John Doe back in Twisted Metal Black, and it's very, very cool to see. And we finally get Miranda Watts suiting up in her classic purple tracksuit outfit, helmet complete. Episode 10, Shangri-La. And for the season finale, we get an all-out vehicular combat battle featuring all the main and recurring characters. John Doe and Quiet and Roadkill, Sweet Tooth and his iconic ice cream truck, Miranda Watts and Twister, Agent Stone and Outlaw, and even Carl and Jamie Roberts are in Shadow, though they never drove Shadow in the games. This scene is awesome, and it makes me wish there was even more car combat in this season, which hopefully gets fixed in Season 2. And speaking of Season 2 teases, we actually get 2 of them. Once John is in New San Francisco, it is revealed that Raven actually needed John for something else. Here she explains that there is an upcoming tournament hosted by Calypso, and she wants John to represent her as her driver. We see a glimpse of Calypso adding in pictures of all the contestants in the tournament bracket. Here we see that John Doe, Miranda Watts, Preacher, Amber, and Bloody Mary will all be a part of the contest, while we also get teases for new characters as well. First up is Axel, the man that is attached in between 2 giant tires. He's appeared in multiple games in the franchise, including Twisted Metal 2 and Twisted Metal Black. Next up, we also see a picture of Mr. Grimm, one of the most popular contestants in the franchise. And this one seems to be based on his look from the original Twisted Metal game in 1995. And for our final character tease, Quiet stumbles upon Dollface and her gang. Dollface appeared in 2 Twisted Metal games, Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal 2012 for the PlayStation 3, and Dollface's gang is most certainly a reference to the Dollface gang from Twisted Metal on PlayStation 3. Oh, and I should also point out that Sweet Tooth does lose one of his eyes at one point, finally completing his look from Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal 2012. And those were all the Twisted Metal Easter eggs that I could find. While editing the video, I did realize I missed one, which was Raven holding up a voodoo doll, which is a reference to her ending in Twisted Metal Black. But I definitely missed some more on the way, so please let me know in the comments what Easter eggs that I missed out on. I would love to see each and every one of them. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching. This Twisted Metal show I thought was awesome. I'm going to have a review of it on this channel pretty soon, so look forward to that. Give the video a like or a dislike, depending on how you felt about it. Comment, let me know what you think about the Twisted Metal show and all the Easter eggs. And subscribe as well, it would really help out the channel. And follow my socials on TikTok and Twitter as well to get all the updates on Twisted Metal and all other things PlayStation. I'm Real Radic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Twisted Metal videos on this channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.